Hi, it's Katrina! From cheating investors out of shipwrecked gold to the lost coins of a princess, here are 9 amazing treasure and artifact finds. Number 9. Greedy Gold. In 2015, a pair of metal detectorists named George Powell and Layton Davies found an array of jewelry dating back between the 5th and 9th centuries, as well as around 300 Anglo-Saxon coins. Altogether, the hoard is believed to be worth up to £12 million. Just one little problem, though: they found it on private land and did not have permission from the property's owner, Lord Colley, so they were in some hot water. The duo kept quiet about their discovery, a direct violation of the Treasure Act, which requires people to declare potentially valuable finds. Items deemed to be treasure automatically become crown property, and the finders often receive a reward. Laws like this are meant to keep valuable artifacts and treasures out of private hands, so that the public can enjoy them at museums and researchers can learn from them. Authorities learned of the hoard after Powell and Davies tried to covertly sell some of the coins to private dealers. They arrested the pair, who received lengthy prison sentences ranging from 8.5 to 10 years. At their sentencing, the judge condemned the men for robbing society of the opportunity to see and admire the artifacts, and of cheating the landowner out of his deserved reward. All the jewelry from the hoard and 1 ingot were recovered, but only 30 of the 300 coins were found. The government is still trying to find the rest of the missing coins. Number 8. The SS America Hoard. Back in 1857, the steamship SS Central America, nicknamed the Ship of Gold, sank in a hurricane off the South Carolina coast while en route from Panama to New York City, taking thousands of pounds of gold and 425 human lives down with it. During the 1980s, treasure hunter Tommy Thompson convinced 161 investors to fund his expedition to find the shipwreck and its treasure. They ended up giving him $12.7 million for the search. Thompson and his crew discovered the wreck 8,000 feet below the water's surface in 1988. The following year, they reportedly recovered around 3 tons of gold worth over $50 million. They were awarded 92% ownership of the loot a decade later, following a slew of lawsuits, which continued to come in the following years from companies and experts who claimed that Thompson cheated them out of millions of dollars by never awarding them their share. In 2012, Thompson failed to appear at a court hearing and went into hiding. He and his girlfriend were found in a hotel room in Palm Beach County, Florida, 3 years later, where the couple kept a low profile, rarely leaving the building and paying for everything in cash. Thompson has spent the last 5 years in federal prison, incurring a $1,000 per day fine for refusing to disclose the location of some of the missing treasure, which is worth an estimated $2 to $4 million. He's being held in contempt of court, which normally has an 18-month holding limit, and it's unknown how long the man will languish behind bars if he continues refusing to reveal where the treasure is. Thompson conveniently claims he doesn't know where the gold coins are, and he even has some supporters who claim that he never cheated anyone out of money, but the judge refuses to buy any of it and continues to demand answers. Whether or not Thompson will eventually crack remains to be seen. Number 7. Royal Hatpin. While searching a field in Lincolnshire, England in early 2019, amateur metal detectorist Lisa Grace hit paydirt in the form of a gold hatpin that may have belonged to King Edward IV. The 15th century piece, which Grace found in pristine condition, bears a striking resemblance to the pins that Edward and those close to him wore throughout his 2 reigns, which spanned from 1460 until his death in 1483. It bears the king's personal emblem depicting a sun in splendor, and also features a purple amethyst stone, which he was known to favor, leading experts to wonder if Edward IV himself lost the hatpin. This is plausible, especially since the artifact resembles a similar piece of jewelry featured in a portrait of the ruler. But, as a Duke's auctioneer spokesperson stated to the Daily Mail regarding the owner's identity, the fact is we shall never know, but it clearly belonged to someone of high status in the upper echelons of medieval society. Specialists believe that the hatpin was likely made during the late 15th century, and that it may have been lost in battle, owing to the frequent conflicts that the monarch found himself in during his first reign, many of which occurred in the area where Grace found the artifact. They estimated its value at somewhere between £10,000 to £15,000, adding that museums and collectors showed immediate interest in it. Miss Grace, who found the piece near the ground surface, was unaware of its significance until she contacted friends about it, and she was shocked when she learned it may have belonged to royalty. Talk about beginner's luck. Number 6. An exiled queen's story. While cleaning out his attic before moving, a man in Guildford, Surrey, England, found an array of historic items that he had forgotten were there. His mother had given him a bunch of stuff, and unaware of its value, he put it in the attic for years, where the objects sat collecting dust. The collection includes an elegant 19th century dress, a needle case, letters, diaries, photographs, and postcards, which belonged to the man's aunt, Clara Herbert. Herbert worked for the Madagascan royal family for many years, from the 1890s until the 1920s. The items found in the attic offer fascinating insight into the life of Rana Valona, Madagascar's last queen before the French invaded the country and took over in 1895. The earlier photos show Rana Valona on her throne and donning beautiful, intricately made dresses. But the images also tell the story of what happened to the royal family after the French annexed Madagascar and exiled them to the island of Réunion. Pictures from that time show the queen and her family in a seemingly miserable state, and they are noticeably thin, auctioneer Carrie Taylor told The Guardian. Rana Valona and her loved ones were then sent to Algiers, where their lives seem to have improved, as evidenced by photos of them looking happier and healthier. After that, they visited France, where the family gained ample support from the country's citizens, in turn pressuring the French government to compensate them more fairly for their suffering over the years. Rana Valona passed away in 1917. The pink and purple satin and velvet dress belonged to Rana Valona's aunt, Ramisini Drazana, and is a rare example of 19th century high fashion that was worn by a black woman, according to Taylor. The goods had an estimated value of anywhere from £1,000 to £1,500, but sold for nearly £48,000. Number 5. A birdwatcher's bounty. While birdwatching next to a farmer's field in the English countryside last September, an amateur metal detectorist discovered a 2,000-year-old trove of around 1,300 Celtic coins, dating back to sometime between 40 and 50 AD. The funny thing is that the unnamed birdwatcher was watching a buzzard and some magpies and saw a glint of gold. It was a coin, and then nearby was another. He rushed home to get his metal detector and forgot the birds. The metal detector gave off a strong signal at the site, and the treasure hunter dug out a copper vessel brimming with gold coins. These date back to when the ancient Celtic queen Boudica led a massive uprising against the Romans. Worth an estimated $1,150,000, it's the largest Iron Age coin hoard found in the country since 2008. It is possible that the coins may form a deposit as a war chest for Boudica's eastern campaigns, treasure hunting editor Jules Evan Hart said in a statement. When the man realized what he had found, he said in an interview that he was shocked and had to sit down. He took the coins home and contacted local authorities to report the find, a requirement under British law. The next step is for experts to determine whether the stash legally qualifies as treasure, which plays a role in determining its ownership. If the coins are deemed to be a significant treasure, they will likely go to a museum, and the finder is also rewarded. Boudica was an ancient warrior queen of the Iceni who led a revolt against the Romans after they killed her husband, beat her publicly, and violated her daughters. Completely enraged, she led a rebellion against the Romans. Her forces killed as many as 70,000 Romans and Roman supporters, and for a while was a terror to the empire. During this volatile time, there was an increase in buried coins throughout the region. But Boudica's army was eventually defeated, and she thereafter either poisoned herself to death or succumbed to an illness. Number 4. A mysterious glimmer of hope. While walking from the latrine to his hut on the Caribbean shore one morning in late 2019, a young Venezuelan fisherman named Yolman Lares found a medallion bearing the Virgin Mary's image on the ground. The discovery came as a rare sign of hope for the 25-year-old and for many others who live in the struggling village of Guaca, which is in dire poverty amid Venezuela's ongoing extreme economic downfall. Journalists recently recounted the details of Lares' fascinating find in a New York Times article. The discovery sparked a frenzied treasure hunt among residents, which turned up hundreds of gold and silver pieces over the next few months, including jewelry, ornaments, and gold nuggets. A test of one piece, courtesy of the New York Times, determined that the item is modern and was likely made in Europe, and that it's made of high-quality 18-karat gold. The origin of the items is a complete mystery, with some residents considering the discoveries a blessing, while others regard them as a curse. Theories abound, including speculation that government officials planted the goods to placate the impoverished local residents, who have become increasingly frustrated with the deteriorating economic conditions in recent years. Some believe that the treasure somehow got lost and washed ashore while being smuggled. Most of the objects were sold right away for food, other necessities, and simple lifestyle upgrades like used televisions. To the destitute residents of Guaca, survival was understandably more important than determining the source of their finds. While experts admit that they may never know where the treasure came from, its ability to feed a struggling population is infinitely more important. Number 3. Fenn treasure. In 2010, an eccentric millionaire named Forrest Fenn hid a chest filled with $1 million worth of treasure in the Rocky Mountains. He published a series of clues to its whereabouts, along with a finders keepers policy on the goods. The chest contained gold nuggets, precious gems, rare coins, and jewelry. Thousands of people searched for the treasure over the following decade, including 5 unfortunate souls who died in their quest to find it. Finally, in June 2020, Fenn announced that someone had found the chest, much to the disappointment of many who hoped to hit the jackpot. I told you about this in a previous video, but now new information has come to light. The discoverer's identity remained anonymous for several months, until a lawsuit against him from someone who claimed that the treasure is rightfully theirs threatened to disclose his name. He came forward on his own in late 2020 in a Medium post, revealing himself as a medical student from Michigan named Jack Stoof. After finding the treasure in Wyoming and revealing his identity, Jake's life changed dramatically. He felt the need to move to a more secure apartment building and take other measures to protect his safety, as a slew of upset treasure hunters levied death threats, tried to delegitimize the discovery, and made bizarre and disturbing allegations against him. Treasure hunting does not make you a lot of friends, and apparently there's a lot of competition. Too bad he couldn't remain anonymous. He sure did try. Number 2. A princess's precious metals. When archaeologist Dr. Adam Kadzierski visited the small village of Slaskov in central Poland last year, the local priest relayed tales he had heard about buried treasure nearby. After initially investigating a lead that turned out to be false, Kadzierski and his team dug at a roadside location that the father had suggested checking out. 2 days later, they found a pot containing 6,500 silver coins called denarii, as well as silver ingots, lead fragments, 2 wedding bands, and 2 gold rings. When the archaeologists realized they'd stumbled upon a massive treasure hoard, they summoned local firemen to guard the scene. The treasures are around 900 years old, dating back to the 11th and 12th centuries. One ring bears acrylic inscription that translates to, "Lord, may you help your servant Maria," leading Kadzierski to believe that it may have belonged to a Ruthenian princess named Maria. This makes sense since the king at the time, Boleslav the Wrymouth, was married to a Russian princess whose sister was named Maria. Furthermore, Kadzierski believes that Maria may have buried the coins after receiving them as a dowry for her marriage to a nobleman. At a time when tensions mounted between her husband and his family, resulting in him being kidnapped and tortured, perhaps Maria felt the need to protect their valuables before she fled Poland. And while this theory remains unconfirmed, all signs point toward it likely being the case. Number 1. Sutton Hoo Ship Burial. A new Netflix film called The Dig retells the discovery of one of the greatest treasure troves of all time, known as the Sutton Hoo Ship Burial. Let me know if you've seen it. Amateur archaeologist Basil Brown discovered the 88.6-foot-long buried ship in 1939. The ship is the most impressive medieval grave to be discovered in Europe, filled to the brim with treasures. It contains countless objects made by master craftsmen, including military weapons, elegant textiles, a large wooden shield, containers, bowls, Byzantine silverware, a rare helmet with a human mask, gold accessories, and more. These items came from all over the known world at the time, symbolizing the far-reaching international relations of the society responsible for the burial. The Sutton Hoo helmet is arguably the most iconic of all the grave goods. At some point, the burial chamber collapsed, breaking it into hundreds of pieces. Conservationists from the British Museum spent years working painstakingly to restore the iron helmet, which is covered in warriors and a winged dragon. Whoever was buried here was clearly important to the Anglo-Saxons, but who was it? The remains of the grave occupant were missing from the burial. A soil analysis shows that the grave once contained human remains, which completely decomposed and dissolved at some point. This high-ranking person's identity is a mystery, but based on 8th century texts and the burial's valuable contents, experts believe that the grave was for the powerful East Anglian ruler King Raedwald. King Raedwall died around 624 AD, and coins found in his burial from around that time bolster the theory that the grave is his. But researchers admittedly don't know for sure who was laid to rest in the ship, and since the remains no longer exist, they will never know for sure. Thanks for watching! Which treasure do you wish you had found? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!